I was elbow deep in grease, trying to loosen a stubborn bolt, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. The text popped up on the screen. Jason, I think I've outgrown you. I need someone more successful. I blinked, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I wiped my hands on a rag and read the rest. I just got promoted to store manager. I'm making more money now. It's not about you. It's just, I need more. I stared at the screen for a second, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Felt surreal. Claire, the woman I'd been with for over 2 years, was telling me that everything we had, everything I thought we were building together, wasn't enough anymore. I had just finished my apprenticeship, finally opened my own shop. It wasn't some fancy office job, but I made a decent living. Not enough to impress Claire, though. I don't know why, but I felt the urge to stay calm. I typed back, "Congrats on the promotion, Claire. I wish you all the best." No fight, no anger. Just a slow, sinking feeling in my chest. The text sent, and I stuffed my phone back into my pocket. I spent the rest of the day doing what I do best, fixing cars. The work didn't stop, even if my world felt like it had. But that night, when I got home, everything changed. Claire was there, packing her things into a duffel bag, her eyes red but dry. She looked up when I walked in. "You're not even upset," she said, her voice shaking just a little. "Aren't you gonna fight for us?" I shrugged, not really sure how to feel. There was nothing to fight for, not when someone decides they're done. "I'm not gonna make this harder than it has to be," I said, my voice flat. She gave me one last look, like she expected me to beg. But I didn't. I didn't even try to change her mind. After she left, I sat on the couch for hours, staring at the empty space where she'd been. The timing felt off, like the universe had a sick sense of humor. Right when I was starting to see the fruits of my labor, Claire decided she needed someone better. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I stood up and walked into the garage. The smell of oil and metal filled the air, and I found some comfort in the familiar. It wasn't a perfect life, but it was mine, and that felt like something. I wasn't sure where I'd go from here, but I knew I couldn't stay stuck in the past. So I started working on the next car in line. The world wasn't waiting for me to get over Claire, and I sure as hell wasn't going to wait for her to change her mind. The next day, the phone rang as I was wrenching on an old engine block. The sound of it buzzing against the metal bench broke through the quiet of the garage. I didn't recognize the number, but I picked up anyway. "Jason? It's Jim." My mentor, Jim, had been like a second father to me, teaching me everything I knew about fixing cars and running a shop. He was the one who'd pulled me into the trade when I was still fumbling with tools, making rookie mistakes. Now he was offering me something big. "I've been thinking, kid, I'm ready to step back a bit. I've got the chance for you to buy into the shop. We can work out the details, maybe take on a partner, or you can buy me out completely if you want to go solo. I'm ready to retire sooner than expected, and I'd like to see you run things. I know you've earned it." I felt my heart skip. I didn't know whether to jump up or stay still. This was what I'd been working toward, what I'd been dreaming about for the last year. My own shop, my own future, with no one telling me how to run things. "Jim." "Yeah. Wow, man. That's huge. I don't know what to say. I know it's a lot. Think it over. We can meet up later this week and go over the details. But if you're interested, let me know. I want you to be ready for this." I hung up the phone, still staring at the screen, feeling the weight of it settle on my shoulders. My stomach was tight, like I was standing on the edge of something big, but I wasn't sure whether I was falling or flying. I leaned back against the workbench, taking a slow breath, trying to work through the chaos in my head. The mix of excitement and confusion was dizzying. I should have been ecstatic, but all I could think about was Claire. I had just gotten dumped, left behind because I didn't measure up to whatever success she had in mind. And now, here I was, suddenly in the position to make it on my own. I reached for my phone. Something about the timing gnawed at me, like this was all happening in some cosmic slap-in-the-face way. But I had to let her know. She'd been a part of my life for so long, and whether I liked it or not, I owed her a heads up. I typed quickly, "I'm really grateful for this new chapter in my life." I stared at the message, waiting for the anger to flood in. It didn't take long. Her reply came almost immediately. You should have told me sooner. I was with you when things were hard. And now you're just going to leave me out of it? Nice timing, Jason. Really. I could feel the heat rise in my chest. I wanted to text something sharp back. Something that would make her see what she was really doing. But I didn't. I didn't need to. I'd spent too much time trying to live up to her standards, and I'd let her walk away without a fight. I typed back, "Best of luck to you too." That was it. No drama, no more words wasted. I set the phone down on the workbench and ran a hand over my face. My whole life had been about waiting for things to fall into place, trying to get ahead, trying to make it. I'd worked my ass off for this moment, and now, finally, I could see it. But Claire? She hadn't cared about me. She cared about what I could be. I thought about how she'd been all about my potential when we were together. She always pushed me to work harder, but it was never about me. It was about the version of me that she thought I should become. The successful one. I stood up and grabbed my jacket, heading toward the office to sign the paperwork for the shop. My heart wasn't racing anymore. I wasn't excited or anxious, I just felt steady. For the first time in a long time, I was making a choice for me. Not for Claire. Not for anyone else. As I signed the papers, the weight on my chest lifted, like I was finally shedding a layer of skin that didn't fit anymore. The shop was mine, or it would be soon enough. It wasn't perfect, and it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't need Claire's approval to know it was the right move. I walked back out to the garage, the hum of the lights above and the scent of engine oil filling the air. This was my place now. No more pretending. I wasn't some half-baked version of myself, waiting for the world to catch up. I'd already caught up. I thought about Claire, about how she'd always seemed to glide through life. She'd gotten the promotion, the money, everything seemed to come easily for her. But none of it mattered if she couldn't see me for who I was. And now, with the shop under my name, I was finally stepping into the person I'd worked so hard to become. I didn't need her to see that. I just needed to believe it myself. So, I closed the door behind me, fired up the engine of the truck I was working on, and went back to work. There was nothing left to look back on. The future was waiting. I spent the next couple of days wrapping my head around the shop deal and figuring out what the hell was next. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed something else to mark the moment. Something to remind me that I was finally doing this on my own, that I wasn't some second-rate version of someone else's dream. So I went and bought myself a new truck. It was a used one, but it was mine. A dark blue Dodge, tough as nails with a clean, shiny finish. I'd been saving for years to afford something like it, and now I could actually make the purchase. The truck wasn't just for hauling cars, it was a symbol, a statement. I didn't need anyone's approval, especially not Claire's. Later, I snapped a picture of it parked outside the shop. The engine was humming, the sun setting behind it in a fiery orange glow, casting shadows across the chrome. I posted it on social media with a simple caption, "New chapter. Here's to earning it." I didn't expect much. A few likes, maybe a couple of comments from people who weren't really paying attention. But not long after, my phone buzzed with a text. My stomach sank when I saw who it was from. "Claire, I saw your post. Is this your way of rubbing it in? You really think you're better off without me?" I didn't even have to think about it. I took a deep breath, reminding myself not to engage in her games. "I'm just celebrating my new chapter," I texted back, keeping it simple. I tossed my phone aside, feeling my blood pressure lower. I didn't have time for that kind of drama anymore. But then, something unexpected happened. The notifications on my phone kept pinging, and I saw that Claire's best friend, Emily, had commented on my post. "Congratulations, Jason. This is amazing. You've worked hard for this." I paused for a second, trying to figure out what to make of it. Emily. I'd known her for years. She was always around at parties, family barbecues, those gatherings that Claire hosted. But we'd never really talked much, never really clicked beyond small talk. Still, I felt a weird sense of warmth at her words, like maybe she was the one person who understood what this meant. Over the next few days, Emily and I started texting here and there. It was casual at first, Some back and forth about cars and the neighborhood we'd both grown up in. Random stuff we'd never really shared before. But it felt easy, comfortable. We had a lot in common that I never took the time to notice. Then, out of the blue, she invited me to dinner. "Hey, I'd love to take you out to celebrate your new shop. I think you deserve it." I couldn't remember the last time someone had offered something like that without any strings attached. I agreed, figuring it wouldn't hurt. Plus, it felt like a chance to just breathe, without worrying about Claire or her mess. Dinner turned out to be the most fun I'd had in a while. We ended up talking for hours about growing up in the same neighborhood, the crazy shit we both saw happen as kids, our parents, and all the stupid stuff we did to survive high school. There was a real sense of ease between us. We laughed more than I thought I would, sharing stories about the people we knew, the places we'd been, the things that had shaped us. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was talking to someone who just got it. By the end of the night, I felt lighter, happier, more in control of my life than I had in a while. It was like I could finally see the blank slate in front of me, something I could fill however I wanted. We didn't talk about Claire, or the past, or any of the bullshit that had clouded up my life. We just talked about now, about what was happening in the present. Felt good, real good. As I dropped Emily off at her place, she gave me a smile that wasn't forced or polite. It was genuine. "You're gonna do great things, Jason. I know it." I walked back to my truck, feeling like a new chapter really was starting. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel tied to anything that was holding me back. And Emily, she wasn't a replacement for Claire, but she felt like the first step towards something better, something I could actually control. I drove home, the engine humming smoothly beneath me, and thought about how far I'd come in just a few weeks, how much I'd changed. The road ahead was wide open, and for once, I was excited to see where it would take me. A few days after dinner with Emily, things started to shift. It was subtle at first, just a text here, a comment there, but I knew what was happening. Claire wasn't done with me. I woke up one morning to a long message from her. "I've been thinking about everything, Jason. I was wrong to break up with you the way I did. I was scared. Scared of losing my independence, scared of losing myself. I thought I needed someone who had more, someone who could match me. But I see now that was about me, not you. I'm sorry." I stared at the text, feeling a weird mix of anger and exhaustion. Claire had this way of making everything sound like it was my fault, like I'd just been waiting around for her to make a decision about us. I didn't bother to reply right away. I thought about it for a few minutes, trying to keep my head level. Eventually, I tapped out a response, simple and final. "You made your choice, Claire. I'm done." I hit send, tossed the phone on the couch, and went to the garage to work on a project. There was no need to keep dragging things out. I wasn't going to rehash everything with her. What we had was gone, and I wasn't about to let her undo the progress I'd made. But Claire wasn't ready to let go. She started texting me more, each message more insistent than the last. "I miss you. I want to try again, Jason. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry for how everything went down." I could feel the weight of her words, but it didn't hit the same way anymore. I wasn't that guy anymore, the one who'd wait around for Claire to decide she was ready for me. I was different now. I had my shop, my independence, my peace. I ignored her. The texts piled up, but I didn't let them get to me. One night, I was talking to Emily at the shop. We'd started spending more time together, and it felt good, easy, without the weight of Claire hanging over us. Emily was bent over a car engine, helping me with some routine maintenance. When she spoke up, her voice a little quieter than usual. "I don't know how to say this, Jason, but Claire's been reaching out to me, asking me what's going on between us. She keeps telling me that we're just using each other to get back at her." Emily's face tightened, her lips pressing together like she was holding something back. I wiped my hands on a rag and set it down, feeling a pang in my chest. I hadn't expected Claire to drag Emily into this, but it didn't surprise me. Claire had always been good at turning things around to make herself the victim. "She's trying to pit us against each other, isn't she?" Emily asked, her voice a little sharp now, like she was trying to hold her own in the middle of the mess Claire was making. I nodded, though it felt like the last of my patience was slipping away. Yeah, but don't worry. I'm done with her. I'm not letting her mess with me anymore, and I'm sure as hell not letting her mess with us. Emily looked at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine. You're sure? She asked, like she was testing my resolve. Yeah, I said, the words coming out more firmly than I expected. I'm sure. It didn't stop Claire, though. She started showing up at the shop, popping in when I was working, hanging around like she thought I'd just fall back into the old patterns. The first time, she tried to guilt me into talking. We need to figure this out, Jason. I know I messed up. I can't just walk away from us like this. I didn't even blink. I kept working, tightening bolts on a transmission, keeping my eyes focused on the job. You had your chance, Claire, I said, my voice cold. This isn't happening. She didn't like that, of course. She lingered for a while, her presence like a weight on the air, but I didn't give her anything else. Just the quiet hum of the shop and the sound of metal clanking as I worked. She came by a few more times after that, always with the same tired lines, the same rehearsed apology. I wasn't interested anymore. Couldn't be. The last straw came when she showed up one afternoon, standing in front of my office door with her arms crossed, expecting me to let her in, to give her another chance. I didn't hesitate. I took a deep breath, pulled out my phone, and blocked her number. I didn't even look at her when I did it, just hit the button, like I was cutting a cord that had been holding me back for too long. Claire, I said, my voice flat, you need to leave. Her face twisted, but I didn't care anymore. I said my piece. I wasn't going to keep letting her play me like she always had. When she finally left, I felt a weight lift from my chest. I didn't have to fight for my peace anymore. It was mine. And with Emily by my side, it felt like the beginning of something better. Something real. Something I could control. It had been a few weeks since I blocked Claire for good. Things with Emily had only gotten easier, and it felt like we were just starting to understand each other on a deeper level. We didn't have to worry about the drama that seemed to follow me around for so long. No expectations, no hidden agendas. Just two people enjoying each other's company. We started hanging out more, after work, on weekends, even just grabbing a drink or taking a walk around town. One day, I suggested we go to the park. It wasn't much, but I figured it would be a nice, quiet place to just sit and talk. We found a bench by the lake, the kind that's tucked away from the busy parts of the park. The water was calm, a soft breeze ruffling the leaves above us. It was simple, but it felt right, like we didn't need anything but the moment we were in. You know, I never really got to take time off when I was growing up, Emily said, kicking her feet lightly against the grass. My family always had something going on, and it was like I had to keep up. They never really understood why I needed a break. She paused, biting her lip as if thinking about it some more. I've had to fight for everything I wanted, Jason. I wanted to be more than just the person everyone thought I was. She looked over at me, and her eyes were softer now, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. I could see the weight she carried in her shoulders, in the way she spoke about her family. It wasn't just that they didn't understand her. It was more like they didn't see her, not for who she really was. That kind of thing hit home for me more than I wanted to admit. I get that, I said, my voice low. My whole life, I felt like I had to prove something to people who didn't believe in me. It's like, no one ever saw the potential, just the kid who worked on cars. Even when I was busting my ass trying to make something of myself, they looked past me like I didn't matter. I ran a hand through my hair, leaning back on the bench. I spent a lot of time trying to live up to everyone else's idea of what I should be. Emily nodded slowly, her eyes focused on the water. I think we've both been trying to get people to see us for who we really are, not just the version they want us to be. I smiled at her, feeling that connection deepening. It wasn't just that we were both tired of being overlooked. It was that we were finally realizing we didn't need to prove anything anymore. We were enough as we were. What about you, Jason? Emily asked, turning her head to look at me. What do you want? Now that you've got the shop and you're starting over, what's next? I thought about it for a second. The shop, the truck, the freedom I finally had, it was all part of something bigger. But there was still more to come, more I wanted to do. I don't know, honestly. I just want to keep building, keep moving forward. Maybe grow the shop, get a few more guys working for me. But I paused, feeling a little nervous, like I was about to say something I hadn't said out loud. But I also want to take a break, you know? Do things for myself. I've spent so long grinding that I never really got the chance to just relax. Emily smiled, a soft laugh escaping her. You and me both. I've never really had the chance to just chill either. That's when I said it without thinking too much about it. We should go to the beach. Take a few days, get away. No work, no stress. Just you and me. Her face lit up, and I could feel the excitement buzz in the air between us. That sounds perfect. I've never been able to just take a break like that. I think we both deserve it. It was a simple idea, but it felt like the first real step toward something easy, something healthy. We weren't rushing anything. We weren't trying to fill any gaps or fix anything broken. We were just enjoying life as it was. We talked more after that, making plans for the trip, laughing about how we both had probably never really taken time off from life. But the more we talked, the more I realized that things were changing in ways I hadn't expected. I wasn't just building a future for myself anymore. I was building one with someone else, someone who actually saw me for who I was. The talk of moving in together came up, but I was cautious. I wasn't ready to jump into anything too fast. Let's take our time, okay? I said, watching the way her eyes softened, not with disappointment, but understanding. We've got time to figure this out. She nodded, a smile playing at her lips. I'm not in any rush either, Jason. I'm just happy being here with you. And for the first time in a long time, I realized that this us was the kind of relationship I'd been waiting for. No games, no manipulation, no pressure. Just two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. Felt good. Real good. The sun was setting as we stood up to leave the park, the sky turning shades of purple and pink. I couldn't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, I was finally on the right path. It was a quiet afternoon at the shop, the kind of calm I'd gotten used to. Emily and I had just finished grabbing some lunch and were sitting in the office, chatting about plans for the weekend. I had my feet up on the desk, half watching the cars come in and out of the lot, when I saw Claire. I didn't even have to think twice. She was standing by the front door, arms crossed, her eyes locked on me like she was daring me to acknowledge her. My stomach tightened, but I stayed put, not letting her get to me. She stepped inside, and behind her was her mother. Jason, Claire said, her voice sharp, almost accusatory. We need to talk. I stood up slowly, my hands gripping the edge of the desk. I knew where this was headed. Her mother wasn't here by accident. This was no longer about us. This was about control. I don't think we have anything left to talk about, Claire, I said, keeping my voice steady. I wasn't going to let her drag me back into her mess. Her mother, as usual, was the silent partner in these things, but she looked at me with that disapproving stare. You've caused enough trouble, Jason, she said, her voice low but heavy with judgment. You've ruined everything. Excuse me, I said, my voice tighter now. Claire stepped forward, ignoring me as she addressed her mother. He's ruined our family, Mom. He's trying to turn Emily against me. You have to make him stop. I couldn't believe the audacity. I'm not trying to turn anyone against anyone, I said. I'm just trying to move on with my life. I'm not responsible for whatever drama you've created between you and Emily. And frankly, I'm not interested in getting dragged back into it. Claire's eyes flared. I'm telling you, Jason, this isn't over. You've got to stop seeing her. Emily is my best friend. She's not your backup plan. I raised an eyebrow at her, crossing my arms. You're not making the rules here, Claire. This is my life, and I'm done living it for you. Claire's jaw clenched. She looked at her mother for support, but her mom just stood there, shaking her head. You can't just walk away from everything we built, Claire said, her voice dropping a little, trying to sound more pleading now. But I wasn't buying it. You made your choice, I said again, my voice calm but firm. You chose to walk away, and I'm choosing to move forward. That was it. Claire opened her mouth to say something else, but I held up a hand. You need to leave. Now. Claire stared at me for a long moment, the weight of the words sinking in. She could see I wasn't going to budge. Slowly, reluctantly, she turned and left, her mother following her out without a word. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, and then I heard Emily. She'd been listening from the office doorway the whole time. Her face was pale, her expression tight, like she was trying to hold it all together. That was intense, she said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. Hey, don't worry about it, I said, walking toward her, putting my hands on her shoulders, trying to offer some comfort. That's just Claire, trying to get control of the situation one last time. Emily looked up at me, her eyes full of hurt. It's just, she's my best friend, Jason. I don't want to hurt her, but it feels like she's forcing me to choose sides. I could see the conflict in her eyes. It wasn't just about Claire. It was about family, loyalty, and all the pressure that came with it. I know it's hard, Emily, but you don't have to choose between us, I said softly. I'm done with Claire. You don't have to carry her baggage with you. This is our relationship now. You don't owe her anything. She took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. I don't know if I can just ignore all the pressure from my family. My mom's upset too. She thinks I'm being disloyal. Your mom doesn't get it, Emily, I said, rubbing the back of my neck, trying to make her see. We've both been through enough, and we can't let anyone else tell us what we should be doing. You don't need their approval. Emily's eyes softened a little, but I could see the tension still in her. I just hate this, she said, her voice breaking a little. I hate that it's come to this. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I know, I said, pulling her into a hug, but we're not going to let her or anyone else control our lives. I'm not going to let my past with Claire drag us down. Later that night, Emily called her mom. I didn't know what was said, but I could tell it was a heated conversation. When Emily came back to me, her face was flushed, her hands shaking a little. My mom's upset, she said, her voice low, but I told her I wasn't going to let her dictate my relationships anymore. I'm done with all the drama. I kissed her forehead gently. You did the right thing. Emily took a deep breath and looked up at me. You're right. We've got enough on our plates without dragging all of that into it. We didn't let Claire's mess affect us again after that. No more games, no more pressure. It was just the two of us now, and we were stronger for it. We knew who we were and what we wanted, and that was all that mattered. The party was at some bar in the city that I'd been to a few times, but it felt different this night. Maybe it was the dim lighting, the noise, or just the fact that I was with Emily. Either way, it should have been a night to just enjoy. But of course, it wasn't. We'd barely walked through the door when I saw her, Claire, and her mother, of course, standing off to the side like they owned the place. I tried to ignore them at first, but I saw Claire catch my eye, and I knew she'd make a scene. Emily must have seen the tension in my face because she squeezed my hand. Don't let her get to you, she said quietly, her eyes scanning the room like she could feel the storm coming too. Claire was already making her way over, her heels clicking against the wooden floor, her expression twisted in that familiar way that made everything feel like it was a personal attack. Jason, she said, her voice colder than I remembered. Emily, she said my name like it was poison, but I wasn't going to rise to the occasion. Claire, I said, as calm as I could muster. What's up? Her eyes flicked to Emily, then back to me. I didn't think you'd be here. Thought you'd be hiding out at your shop, pretending to be too busy for real people. I shrugged, not even bothered by the comment. Nope, just here to enjoy the night. Claire's mother stepped in, her arms crossed. You really think you're doing the right thing, don't you? She asked, voice laced with disdain. Running off with her like you're some big success now? Do you think this makes you better than everyone else? The question stung, but I didn't let it show. I'm not trying to be better, I said. Just trying to live my life. Claire smirked, like she thought she had me. You've always been so good at playing the victim, Jason. But I'm not buying it anymore. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The more I stayed silent, the more her words lost their sting. Behind Claire and her mom, I could hear some of their friends whispering, loud enough for me to catch bits of their conversation. I can't believe he's with Emily now. She's just using him to get back at Claire. It wasn't just Claire anymore. Now her whole crew was involved, trying to spin this into something it wasn't. I felt the old anger rise, but I pushed it down, refusing to let their gossip drag me back into that old fight. Emily must have felt it too, because she stood a little taller next to me, her grip on my hand tightening. "You're better than this, Jason," she murmured. "Let them talk." And for the first time, I felt it. I was better than this. All those years of trying to prove myself to Claire and her family, letting them decide who I was and what I was worth, that was over. I turned back to Claire. "You know," I said, voice steady, "I'm not going to keep playing your game. You can say what you want, but I'm not going to engage. I've got more important things to focus on." Claire's face went red, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. Her pride, the thing she'd been clinging to, was slipping away in front of her friends. It wasn't just the breakup anymore. It was the realization that she'd lost. She'd lost me, and more importantly, she'd lost her hold over me. "I think you should leave, Claire," I said as she opened her mouth to say something else. "You're not welcome here." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned on her heel without a word. Her mother followed, but I didn't care. I watched them go, the sound of Claire's heels clacking against the floor getting fainter as they walked out the door. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. It was just done. The weight of her presence had been lifted, and I didn't need to chase after her. She was no longer part of my world. Emily looked up at me, her face flushed with a mixture of pride and relief. "You were amazing," she said softly, her voice full of admiration. "I'm just done with the drama," I replied. "I don't have the energy for it anymore." We stood there for a few seconds, letting the tension of the moment dissolve. I didn't need to say anything else. We both knew that what happened tonight was more than just a confrontation. It was the final step in me cutting the last ties to the past. As we left the party a little while later, I couldn't help but think about how far I'd come. The old me would have been furious, chasing after Claire, trying to make her see things my way. But the new me, the one who had his own shop, his own life, his own future, that guy didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I felt light, like something had finally clicked into place. Emily and I didn't need the approval of anyone else. We had each other, and that was enough. We got into the car, and I glanced over at her. "You good?" She smiled, and the weight in her eyes seemed to lift. "Yeah. You?" "Yeah," I said, pulling out of the parking lot. "I'm good. Really good." For the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I was just looking ahead, and I was ready for whatever came next. The phone rang on a quiet Friday morning as I was finishing up some paperwork at the shop. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I picked it up anyway, curious. "Hey, Jason, it's Sarah." I sat up straighter, immediately recognizing the name. Sarah was Claire's best friend. I'd never had much of a relationship with her, but I knew she was close to Claire. "Hey, Sarah, what's up?" There was a pause on the other end, and I could hear the hesitation in her voice before she spoke. "Look, I just need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." I braced myself. "Go ahead. Are you dating Emily just to get back at Claire?" she asked, the words coming out like she was trying to gauge if I'd snap. Because, honestly, it's starting to feel like that's what's going on. I didn't even flinch. It wasn't the first time someone had tried to spin this into some petty revenge story, but I wasn't interested in playing that game anymore. "No, Sarah, I'm not dating Emily to get back at Claire. I'm dating Emily because she's who I want to be with," I said, my voice steady, not a hint of anger in it. "I've moved on from everything with Claire. I don't need to keep dragging that past around with me." There was a pause on the other end. "I just thought you should know, Jason, that Claire's really upset. She's not taking this well, you know? And I don't want to see you get hurt." "I'm not going to get hurt, Sarah. I've got a solid grip on my life now," I said, the words feeling more true than they ever had. "And I don't need anyone else's approval to move forward. I'm good." After another awkward silence, She sighed. Okay, Jason. Just wanted to clear that up. I hung up the phone, feeling a little lighter. I didn't need to explain myself anymore. I didn't know Claire or her friends anything. I had built something new with Emily, something real, and no one could take that away. I leaned back in my chair, looking around the shop. It was mine. I'd worked hard for it, and I was finally in control of my life. The past, the years with Claire, the doubts, the insecurities, felt like a distant memory, one that wasn't going to follow me anymore. Later that weekend, Emily and I had plans to just relax. No drama, no obligations. We spent most of the day curled up on the couch, talking about random stuff, everything and nothing, the little things that made life worth living. She told me about some work stuff, and I told her about a new project I was thinking about starting at the shop. We didn't talk about Claire or anything from the past, and it felt good. That evening, we took a walk through the park, the air cool and crisp, the leaves crunching underfoot. It was simple, but it felt like everything was falling into place. So, Emily said, as we stopped by a bench, what do you want for the future? I thought about that for a moment. Before, I might have been too scared to answer, too unsure of myself. But now, everything felt different. I knew what I wanted. I want to keep building my shop, I said, looking over at her. I want to keep doing what I love. But mostly, I just want to keep being with you. Whatever happens, whatever comes next, I want to do it with you. She smiled, a soft, knowing smile. Me too. We stood there for a moment, the night settling around us, and I realized how much more stable I felt now, how much more confident. I didn't need Claire's approval. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I had what I needed. It was almost like I'd spent so much of my life trying to prove myself to Claire, to show her I was worthy of her love, her attention. But all that time, I was missing the most important thing. I was already enough. I didn't need her or anyone else to validate me. The past, what Claire did, the way she tried to manipulate me, the way she always made it about what I wasn't, none of that was a reflection of who I was. It was her own insecurities, her jealousy, her need to control. And I wasn't going to let that define me anymore. I looked down at Emily, the soft glow of the streetlights illuminating her face. She wasn't here for validation. She wasn't here because of what I had or what I could be. She was here because she liked me, because she saw me. I'm glad I'm with you, Jason, she said, squeezing my hand. Me too, I said, smiling down at her. You're the first person who's ever really made me feel like I don't have to be anything more than who I am. She leaned up and kissed me, the kind of kiss that felt like it could last forever. When we pulled away, I realized that this was exactly what I needed all along. Someone who accepted me, someone who wasn't afraid of my past and who didn't want to change me. I was finally free of the hold Claire had on me. I wasn't waiting for anyone to decide who I was or what I should be. The future felt wide open, and for the first time I was looking forward to it with no baggage. Just Emily and me, together, and that was enough. A week later, I got an email from Claire. The subject line was simple, "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a few seconds, my thumb hovering over the screen. It wasn't like I'd been expecting to hear from her, but I knew she'd eventually try to reach out again. People like her didn't like to leave things unfinished. I clicked it open. The message was short, but heavy. I know things ended badly between us, and I know I made a lot of mistakes, but I've been thinking about everything, and I just want to talk. Maybe we can figure things out. I set the phone down on the table without replying. I didn't need to respond. There was nothing left to say. Behind me, I could hear Emily moving around in the kitchen, humming to herself while she made breakfast. She didn't have to ask about the email. She knew. She always knew. I showed her the email and she read it with a quiet focus. When she finished, she didn't say anything right away, just set the phone back down. Then she looked up at me, smiling softly. You don't need to do this, Jason. You don't need to give her another chance to drag you back into that. I know, I said. I don't even feel like responding. It's like everything she said just feels empty now. Emily came over and kissed me on the cheek. It's good, though. You're finally letting go of her. You're letting go of all the old baggage. She was right. I was finally free. I didn't need to keep trying to explain myself or prove anything to Claire anymore. It had taken me a while to see it, but now I could. The past was behind me, and it was time to move forward. We decided to take the weekend off. Just the two of us. No drama, no distractions. We headed out for a road trip along the coast, driving with the windows down, the wind whipping through the car. We laughed the whole way, talking about everything and nothing at all. I'd never realized how much I needed this, how much I needed her. Every time I looked over at Emily, I saw someone who wasn't just putting up with me or tolerating my mess. She was someone who wanted to be here, in this moment with me. She didn't care about the past. She cared about what was right in front of her. We spent the night in a small beach town, walking along the shore as the sun dipped below the horizon. It was simple but perfect. We talked about our future, about what we wanted to build together. We talked about our dreams, the ones that were finally feeling real, not just distant hopes. The next morning, we had breakfast at a little cafe overlooking the water. It was quiet, peaceful. It was exactly what I'd been craving for so long. No pressure, no worries, just time to breathe and appreciate the life I was building. On the drive back, I thought about Claire's email again, but it didn't sting like it used to. It didn't pull at me. Instead, it felt like just another piece of the past that I'd left behind. As we drove along the coast, the sound of the ocean in the distance, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The kind of peace I'd been chasing for so long, without even knowing it. I looked over at Emily, her hair blowing in the breeze, her smile bright as she told me some funny story from work. And in that moment, I realized that everything that had happened, the heartbreak, the confusion, the endless attempts to make something work with Claire, was part of how I got here. To her. It was like a weight had been lifted from my chest. I wasn't bound by anything anymore. I was living the life I wanted. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for something to happen. I was finally here, and that felt like victory.